single lion is no match for an enraged hippo 10 times his weight. The waterline marks the boundary, and to cross it, he'd better be primed for battle.
Tao notices an intriguing smell. There she is, the beauty with the collar. Tao is powerless to resist. Her scent is intoxicating. She has his undivided attention. But he has to wait until she allows him to approach. They cross half a dozen floodplains. The sun is low when he catches up to her. Not too close. Not yet. That's not Banda's roar. That's a pride male. The beauty's consort, less than a mile away. His roar sends a clear message of ownership. Her spell is broken. He doesn't think about direction. He's just got to put as much distance as possible between himself and that roar. Hours pass, and Tao is still retracing his steps. He doesn't know where Banda is. He doesn't know where he is. He needs Banda to find him. He's never seen this tree, but he marks it to tell Banda he was here. His roar carries for 5 miles. Why no answer? Is Banda coming? It's risky calling non-stop. It's not only Banda out there. But it's more dangerous to be alone. Tao's exhausted, but sleep doesn't come. Still nothing. The sound of hope. Banda. He has come. Tao's relief is unmistakable.
At 2 months old, they have yet to learn how dangerous their world is. Hyenas and leopards are notorious cub killers. Less than half of lion cubs get to see their first birthday. And even fewer make it to adulthood. But the greatest risk of all is from other lions. Rosa's on edge. A lioness has appeared alarmingly close to the cubs. It's not one Nathan recognizes. Rosa's not taking any chances. The lioness gets the message, but doesn't move off completely.
The female's keeping her distance. I think she got her lesson from the mother, having a brief fight and lots of growling.
It wasn't a vicious attack by lion standards, suggesting this female is from Rosa's own pride, the MKs.
If she was a female from another pride, I think she would be really aggressive and see her off completely.
Most lionesses would have introduced their cubs to the rest of the pride by now. But Rosa's a cautious mother and hasn't taken that step yet. She may not be ready, but Spotty, her pluckiest cub, is.
I think these cubs are very curious, this other female, who she is, why they're not allowed to go and see her. I'm sure the cubs are very bored of each other and their own mothers, and the chance to play with someone else would be just so tempting. This might be the first introduction to another lion. So this is a bit of a new experience, you know, who is this other person? Can we play with them?
The cubs seem fascinated with their new playmate. This female from their pride isn't a threat. She may well be their aunt. But Rose is still anxious. With the recent invasion of the nomad males in the valley, the cubs might be better off under the protection of the pride. But for now, Rose is still choosing to keep them hidden. As usual, Zuri's cubs are sticking close to their mother in the shade. But Spotty, Rose's adventurous son, has other ideas. At 4 months old, he's growing bolder every day. Not for the first time, he's leading his sisters astray.
So 3 cubs have actually snuck off away from Mum, gone on their own little adventure, dropped down the edge of the bank and gone drinking. All these crocs around, that's absolutely insane. See some crocodiles moving over there, actually, in the water.
Rose's cubs are too young to understand the danger they're in.
Now, these really are the cheekiest little cubs. I mean, they really haven't quite learned to sort of healthy fear for the crocodiles yet. They're drinking at the edge, particularly without any parents near them. There's a high chance that a croc could take one. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to intervene. We have to let nature sort of take its course.
The cubs have been gone for 10 minutes before Rosa realizes they're missing.
She's trying to see where they are. I don't think she actually saw where they've gone. She's looking a bit uncertain.
Rosa chooses to search upstream in the wrong direction. It's their Aunt Zuri who hears the cubs' distant calls.
She got up and ran across, trying to help.
She can hear them, but she can't see them. The cubs have got themselves onto a rocky ledge.
They might be stuck down there. I mean, this is pretty dangerous for the cubs because it's very easy for them to slip and fall down. There's a crocodile coming. Crazy.
Zuri is desperate to help them, but she can't risk her cubs coming with her.
It's a pretty steep bank there, and I think you can see here the mother really doesn't want the cubs to go. She's grabbing them and pulling them back again.
She tries to leave her cubs with their grandmother.
She can't persuade her cubs to stay behind.
At last, Spotty finds a route out. It's a welcome reunion with their aunt.
They were earmarked as the future kings of Akagera, but they've got a lot to learn. Notoriously lazy, male lions rely on the pride lionesses to navigate and bring home the bacon. Totally lacking survival skills, these two aren't ready to make it out here alone. The brothers call into the night to advertise their presence. Their roars echo for miles. 3 miles away, Shema replies. Throughout the night, they call to each other. And in the morning, Shema sets off to heed their roars. This time, she travels alone. She's in heat, and there's only one destination. Shema and Enduro rub heads. It's a positive greeting and an important moment. For Shema, it could mean a mate. And for the males, a useful hunter. As matriarch of her old pride, Shema would have provided for the young males. And true to form, now she wastes no time in setting off to hunt. Once again, she has no backup, but she's hungry enough for a solo attempt. Out in the open, Shema's got no cover to mask her intentions. But the innocent water buck doesn't recognize the smell of danger. It doesn't run. It's too good a chance to pass up. Shema has done it. She's the first lion to make a kill in Rwanda in 25 years. It proves she can survive here, even on her own.
Living in a group means you need to feed many mouths. This final experiment will test the strategy behind what a lion is perhaps most famous for: hunting.
How do lions hunt? How do they choose their prey? Do they categorize? Do they base their decisions on how many individuals are with them? What is going on in a lion hunting party?
Now, Natalia is using some unusual props to find out. Something that has never been attempted before.
Here or there might work, yeah.
But how are the lions going to react to the new menu?
Should we put some grass here for him to eat?
In case he gets hungry while
Yeah.
he's waiting to be eaten by the lion.
There we go. It'll make it more convincing for the lion.
Okay.
Will they even recognize the cutouts as prey?
So the idea is if you're a single lion hunting, then you're going to want to go for the easy prey because there's just one of you. So you might choose, say, the warthog or the impala. Whereas if you have a partner with you, then you can probably capture something more difficult.
First to face the cutouts is lioness Meg. But what will she make of the two-dimensional menu? As predicted, Meg chose the smallest and easiest animal.
You must be pleased with that.
That was amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Did you see her? So she checked him when you were a little ways off.
Yeah.
You saw her head come up and she kind of, oh, what are
But
those?
she went for the impala, which was
Yeah,
what
she
I
did.
think you're hoping.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
went for one of the smaller ones, which is what we would expect to happen with just a single female.
So I think to up the ante, one would want to now bring out 3 lions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And perhaps a male as well.
There's going to be a lot of meat there, so the risk might be worth it when you have kind of safety in numbers.
Finally, 3 lions, Vaetzi, Ginny, and Livy, head out on the hunt. With strength in numbers, the theory predicts they'll target the biggest prey. They lock onto the buffalo. But then the wind changes, and the buffalo disappears. So the trio simply set their sights on something else.
They all went for the
They all went
impala.
for the impala.
Because it's the tastiest meat out there.
I guess.
Have you ever had impala? It's really tasty.
Is it?
Yeah.
Despite taking down the impala, Vaetzi and the females did choose the buffalo first. But Vaetzi isn't quite finished exploring all the potential prey options.
Kevin. Hey, Kevin.
Move your fingers.
It's all about risk versus reward. The lions are choosing prey exactly as scientists have predicted, but haven't been able to test until now.
Starting this, I didn't even know if the cutouts would work. Would they recognize two-dimensional objects as prey species? And clearly they do. It's been some really amazing behavior that we've been observing that I did not think we would get. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect it to go this well. It gives us a way to actually test that now. So we can do this with lots of male-female pairs and finally see, okay, if you're with a male, how does your behavior change versus if you're just with a female partner?
Back in the south, Nathan has followed the 3 MK teenagers to the river. Maya and her brothers have found the rest of the pride. There's just one problem. They're on the opposite side of the river. It's September, and it hasn't rained for months. At this time of year, the river drops low enough for lions to occasionally cross back and forth. The Loangwa River has one of the highest concentrations of crocodiles in the whole of Africa.
I think lions have a healthy respect for crocodiles, and judging by the size of some of them over there, I think that's good for them to have.
Lions might have the upper hand on land, but in water, the tables turn, and it's the crocs that rule.
I've seen fully grown male lions pulled under by crocodiles, so crocodiles are really strong.
They possess one of the greatest bite forces in the animal kingdom, with jaws that once clamped shut are almost impossible to escape. The teenagers haven't yet learned the safest and shallowest crossing points. But the threat of the nomads and the desire to join their family drives them into the water.
These three being slightly young, they haven't quite really got the experience and might be a little bit silly and cross when they shouldn't. It's the one time that lions are really vulnerable. Maya's now leading. There's lots of hissing going on. She'll be hissing at the crocodiles.
She loses her nerve.
Endless crocodiles in this river.
More of the MK Pride comes down to the opposite beach, encouraging her to try again. Brothers tentatively follow. As the crocs begin to close in, Maya and the boys pick up the pace.
One of the young mothers has spotted a lone oryx in the dunes. This is the ultimate hunt for a desert-adapted lion. She stalks through the motionless waves of this sea of sand. The dunes become her ally. The sand, a disguise. Today, the desert hunts with her. The majority of hunts end in failure. But not today. The rest of her pride is unaware of the kill, but her successful hunt doesn't go unnoticed. With scavengers on the scene, she can't risk leaving the kill to fetch the rest of her pride. Her maternal instinct kicks in. She calls out for the others. Her roar is an invitation.
Here, another mother is on a solo mission, bringing up cubs. She's part of a big pride, but she needs to keep the cubs away for their safety. Males will kill cubs that are not their own to ensure his genes and not someone else's are passed on. Infanticide is the cause of almost a third of cub deaths. The pressure is on her to be the sole hunter for 2 hungry cubs. And this calls for a special strategy. She heads out to hunting zone number 3, the gully. At the peak of the rainy season, the open ground becomes saturated, and runoff water forms gullies as it searches for the fastest way down. In their quest for fresh grass shoots, wildebeest follow the most direct route. Down the banks of the shallow valley and over the gully to the green field. Hundreds of wildebeest cross the gully. She's waiting on the other side, ready to intercept them. With prey heading straight towards her up a small but significant incline, she has the height advantage for an epic ambush. The incline slows the herd down. They're moving right by her. Lions can only sprint at top speed for 50 yards, and she's well within that range. Her strategy? Make like a bush. She has to remain dead still. But stillness attracts flies, and flies make her fidget, a true test of resolve. It seems to be working. She just has to choose the right target. Small enough to take down, big enough to feed a family of 3. A perfect hunt.
A new threat has arrived on the riverbank. They're a roving pride of lions, undernourished and looking for territory. It's the dry season, a daily battle for survival. And like the hippos, they rely on both land and water. 12 lions of various ages. It's a lot of mouths to feed. To satisfy 12 bellies efficiently, they need to set their sights on big prey. They're hungry and thirsty. Temperatures are soaring over 100 degrees, and they can smell water. To get a drink, they need to breach the riverbank. But this is hippo country, and they must respect the bull's territory. Hippos are fiercely territorial and notoriously aggressive when defending their patch. Even lions give them a wide berth. But the pride male bows to no one. A single lion is no match for an enraged hippo 10 times his weight. The waterline marks the boundary, and to cross it, he'd better be primed for battle.